If you're on the webinar last week, and I did do a separate video for the questions that I wasn't able to answer, and you should have received those as an email. If you didn't, just put your email into a private chat. Also, I'll give you an email that you can send at the end of this, and then I'll make sure that you receive those questions. Today, after this webinar, I will be available for questions. As I know I only had a half hour last week, but I can take questions as long as everyone has questions this week. I will get started. And today's webinar is about the only 7 reasons a law firm will ever make you partner. And this is a pretty important presentation. And it's something that people have told me in the past that has been, in this particular, has been very helpful for them in their career and advancing. And one of the things to really understand about the practice of law and also this presentation, when you're practicing law, you're actually in a business. So you're in a profession, but you're also in a business. You have to understand what your business role is. And far too many people are working in the forest and all they see are trees in front of them. They don't understand what the larger picture is. And so the point of this presentation really is to show you what that picture is. And then in order to advance both as a partner and after you're a partner, we'll talk about the 7 reasons that law firms make partners, what the obstacles are to become a partner, and also the same obstacles really are there to stay partners. And I guess one of the things I would say first is that for some reason, I keep watching documentaries and movies about Navy SEALs, and I don't know why there's so many of them out there, but there's definitely a lot of them, and they're fun to watch. I don't know why I like watching them, but the idea is that in any time you're doing something difficult, a lot of people will quit. And it's the same thing that I notice in all these documentaries when they're training Navy SEALs. Like they make them lie in the water in the middle of the night and the waves going over their face. They do all these very difficult things to them. And eventually there's always a way to quit, which is you put down your helmet or ring a bell and then you stop the training. And so it's like that really with a lot of things. You say it's too much for him. He could not cope. They were too hard on him, but the SEALs are only for the strongest. That's not easy being a SEAL. And that's why somebody quit. And then the announcer will always kind of talk about how a lot of people try and fail, and it requires a lot of physical and also mental endurance to succeed. And so in every class of people training to do this, a lot of people quit because it's very difficult, and they intentionally put them into very stressful roles where people don't sleep. They have to run for long distances, hold their breath for a long time. They expose them to cold and heat and really very unreasonable stress that most people would never normally experience. And so people don't like that. Some people quit right in the beginning. Others quit when it's very close to the end. There's movies about it. I think Officer and the Gentleman has something to do with it. And then there's Hell Week, which is even harder and more work and so forth. And people quit then as well. A lot of what with Navy SEALs and so forth is very similar to what happens in law firms. A lot of people get into demanding law firms and environments, and they allow things to affect them. They get too close, they get close to the finish line and quit. And even though they could potentially make it if they stuck with it, they quit. If you think about what it's like being a Navy SEAL, it gives you an identity. And once you have that identity, it's something you carry with you for the rest of your life. And I have Navy SEALs, and I'm married into a family that had a Navy SEAL, and I certainly assume my family. And the people anybody that's ever done that, people refer to them as a former Navy SEAL for their whole, or if it's a Green Beret, for the whole lifetime. And they say this person did this, and it's a big deal. And people are proud of it. And it's more about than just being someone that was in the Navy, which people will forget about. It's about having achieved something that's meaningful that very few people can do, and a lot of people quit. And people that are able to achieve that feel a lot of confidence and in other areas of their lives because of what they were able to do. And if you want to be an attorney and you want to do well as an attorney, it's much more meaningful to say that you're a partner in this major, very competitive law firm or any law firm that's competitive, as opposed to saying you were just an associate or you're a former associate or something, or counsel. It's fine that you were able to reach that role. But being an associate someplace, but there's plenty of attorneys that do that. And I don't know what the ratio is, but it's probably 10 to 1. People that join large law firms and become rise to the top there. It's very competitive. It's like being a Navy SEAL or something, probably more competitive. And there's a lot of people that just don't have the staying power to succeed in those types of environments, and because they give up. And the main hurdles are often psychological and even physical. There's a quote that I really like, and I don't have it in front of me, but it's a quote that I don't, former president, I think it's about, there's very few people, there's lots of people out there that are able to critique things and be critics and sit on the sidelines and talk about things and be negative, but there's very few people that are actually out there doing stuff whose faces are marred by dust and working hard and trying to get good results. And most people end up giving up, and that's just how it is. And then they become complainers and they talk about, how such and such is not worth it, or that all those sorts of things, or it wasn't for them. And people that become very successful, and I would say it's a lot more than 15 years. I've been speaking with attorneys, 25 at least, maybe 30. Anyway, but the point is that over that period of time, I've watched a lot of attorneys become partners. I've watched many not become partners and do something else. I've watched people drop out of law firms and go to the government, go in house, which is very common, or also quit the practice of law. And people that, by every stretch of imagination, had the skills and ability to do very well at the practice of law, at least academically and so forth. And these people, for whatever reason, and it's a lot of them, it's most people, probably you, if you don't push yourself or stay in the game, give up. And giving up is easy for everyone. It's always easy to give up. There's plenty you can do to give up. You can put your helmet down, you can ring the bell and suddenly have less responsibility, more free time and less pressure. You can definitely do that. My job is very stressful. What I do now, it's extremely stressful. Anything that's you can do very well at, there's always a lot of stress. People will be threatened by you and they'll undermine you. The hours are hard. It's hard on your body. It's hard psychologically. Every job has its pressures. But if you want to succeed, you have to ask yourself if it's something that you really want. And that's really the most important thing to think about. Is it something that's worth it to you? And that identity, I think, of having reached a certain pinnacle of the profession is something that will separate you. It will make other opportunities open up for you. Big companies do not hire associates in law firms to be their general counsel. You don't get in the national headlines as an associate in a case. Big clients don't work with associates. The life is much different when you succeed than when you don't. The first reason that people typically do not make partner in law firms is very simple. It's because law firms don't necessarily want to make partners. You can think about that. Law firm partners don't want the people that are there to succeed. It's very simple. No matter what a law firm says to you, the more people who quit the practice of law or walk out of the law firm after working a few years there, the more the partners that are there will feel special. I remember when I took the bar exam, everyone who was talking about how that when you get older, you want the bar passage rates to be lower and stuff because it makes it better. Whatever you did when you pass the bar more makes you feel more successful. And when people don't make partner in a law firm, it makes the partners that are there feel more special and like it's much harder to do. And it makes the position they're in have a lot more value. The other thing is the most significant, of course, is that every additional person that comes in and makes partner is more money to be distributed or more people to distribute the money to. So the law firms don't have a ton of incentive to take someone that might, at some firms, you might be making 3 or 4 times what you were making as an associate when you make partner, and not all, but not even the majority of them, but you'll be making a lot more money for essentially the same work. And that's money that comes out of the partner's profits when they're paying you more. Most law firms do not want to make you partner. And if they make you a real partner, meaning that the real partner means instead of an income partner, they're suddenly going to have to share those profits. And that's going to decrease their income and will come out of their paycheck. And they're smart enough to realize that. And so they don't necessarily like that. That's not a good thing. They're sharing money that they're bringing in with you, and they have to share work with you in order to, regardless of what you're bringing in the door, especially if they make you an equity partner. It's very difficult for them to get you out of that job. So every law firm would prefer that you stay an employee. So it's just something to think about. You have to offer a tremendous amount of value for a law firm, or they have to have very good reasons for making you a partner. But many law firms will keep you an associate for 20 years if they can, as long as it passes a straight face test and they can justified and they think you'll stay. They'll make you counsel. They'll make you a non-equity partner, which is basically another way of keeping you as an employee, but making you feel like you're a partner, and to give other attorneys a perception that there's a possibility of upward mobility and to potentially give you a title that will allow you to bring in clients. I talk to attorneys all day, and it's what I do. And I talk to people in branch offices and stuff with big firms, and they'll say things like, oh, this firm hasn't made a partner in this office in 15 years, or in many cases, they've never made a partner in this office and in 25 years. And the fact of being a partner is such an incredible accomplishment means that in the eyes of most attorneys, there's nothing wrong with giving up or quitting or going in-house or going to work in a boutique law firm or doing something else entirely if you're at a large law firm doing that. And I know one attorney that decided to open an ice cream store after becoming an expert in corporate securities and billing 2,800 hours a year for 12 years. So people are just, they give up, and law firms really do not want to make you partner. That's what you have to understand. So you have to just, with that basic idea, you have to understand, which is what I'm going to talk about next. You have to give them reasons for wanting to make you partner. If you make someone a partner, that means that you have to share your income with them. That means that you have to believe that they're going to offer you a lot more than you're giving them. And you have to believe that they're loyal and they're going to stick around. And you have to have all these beliefs that may or may not be rational. And what reason does a law firm have to trust you? What have you shown? So these are some of the things you start needing to think about. So here's why law firms make you partner. Law firms are only going to make you partner if they have to. So this is the first and most important rule that you need to understand. They have no other reason to make you partner unless they absolutely believe that they have to. They're not going to make you partner because they like you. They're not going to make you partner because it's fair. They're not going to do so for any other reason. That no one is looking out for you. You have to understand that you're walking into this. You are completely alone. You have to provide a lot of benefit in order to get someone to give you something. That's the most basic rule of business. You have to provide a lot more benefit than any other person that you're competing with, and much more. And the law firm is going to have to be in a position where there's no other logical choice but to make you partner. It's as simple as that. You have to actually provide a lot more value. So I may have talked about this before, but during I remember very well because I grew up in Detroit. There was this kind of big crisis because all these Japanese cars were coming in, and people were buying these Japanese cars instead of these American cars. And the reason people would buy the Japanese cars is because in many cases, you're in German cars, your Volkswagens, your Hondas and so forth were half the price of an American car. Not only were they half the price, but they were multiple times better. And so everyone bought the Japanese and German cars instead. This is decades ago, but it's what happened. And so that's why those companies grew. People have no incentive to buy cars from another country, but when they're half the price and they're much better car, they save people money. They don't break down. They hold their value. So that's why companies succeed, and that's why people succeed. They provide more value, and they're better. They're just better. They don't break down. They don't give excuses for not working. They're always working hard. They're bringing in a lot of money. If you buy a car for $7,500 versus $20,000 for the same car that's an American car, and it works all the time, it doesn't break down, it gets better gas mileage and all that stuff. It's a no-brainer. Someone is instantly saving you $10,000 and a lot of hassle, and it's going to have a higher resale value. So these are all reasons that people succeed as attorneys too, because they provide more value. There's no other logical choice. That's as simple as that. It's not because people are not going to make you partner or keep you partner, and nothing is going to work in the long run that's inefficient. So if someone's making you partner because they need to have someone, I don't know, for whatever reason in that seat as a partner, so they can say that they're only going to keep you partner, make you partner when you're providing a ton more value than you're taking. And you need to really understand that you may be able to go into an organization and say, hey, you don't have anybody from this country as a partner, and I should be a partner because I'm from, I don't know, Finland. I'm just making this up as an example. Maybe the firm was going to want a Finnish partner at some point, and maybe that's a great thing, but at the same time, that's not going to work in the long run. So the first thing is you have to look like you have a ton of business that the law firm is going to be able to exploit, or look like you will have a ton of business. Meaning, when I say exploit, I do mean exploit. You have to look like you will have a ton of business that the law firm can exploit. And what does that mean? They have to believe that you're going to have a lot of business at some point, or have a lot of business. And why do I use the word exploit? Because it is exploitation. You're getting exploited when you're an associate, and you're getting exploited when you're a partner. That's just how the world works. It's no one is, and it's, again, everybody in every job is getting exploited to some extent. So I'm not saying law firms are doing anything wrong, but a law firm, if you have $2 million in business, the law firm might pay you 300,000 or 400 or 500, 700,000. And that 1.3 million is going somewhere else. It's going to their infrastructure. It's going to associates that are working for you and other people. It's going to profits for the firm. Who knows? It's spent when you bring in and you're creating a lot of excess. It's being spent on things you have no control over. And those include the law firm's overhead, the law firm's office space, which are in salaries, and that you have no control over. You're paying in some cases for bureaucrats to sit around and do nothing. And some bureaucrats to be very good. You're paying for associates to sit around and do nothing. You're paying for the law firm getting sued and settlements. And who knows? You're paying for more powerful partners that may not be working hard. You may be paying for opening up branch offices. I had a thing happen once. It was actually funny, but it was sad. There was a partner that called me, and he's like, I need a job in 1 week or something. And I was like, why? What happened? And he said that he had been working for this law firm for a long time, and he brought in this huge case and got this giant settlement where the firm got tens of millions of dollars in fees. And without spending a lot of money, he did the trial himself and everything. And they didn't really finance anything. And they gave him, like, I don't know, $200,000 bonus or something, which he was very upset about. And so he was like, how could, I make someone $20 million and they only give me $200,000? Or maybe it was more than that. I don't remember what the number was, but it was tens of millions of dollars. And so he was very upset and wanted a job within a week. And he was at a big, huge national firm. That's exploitation. And then the funny thing is I'm not going to get too far into it, but then I was in because this firm's a client of mine. So they're just doing what firms do. And it's not anything against the firm in particular, but then I was in another part of the country, and they were opening up this beautiful office with this guy's money and doing this incredible build out. And I said, wow, this is just amazing. You don't even have anybody here. And they're like, oh, we're going to grow to these people. We got this one of our partners in another office and brought in this giant trial verdict, and it's giving us all this money to redo the firm. And that's just how it works. So and this kind of stuff happens all the time. The point is, if you have a lot of business, you're going to be paid a fraction of it. The rest is going to be used to support the firm and to make business decisions that you have no control over. And it will basically be distributed in many cases to people that are more powerful than you. Nothing wrong with that. That's how it works. It's different than being an associate, but the law firm needs to believe that you have a lot of potential and you can make them a lot of money, much more than as an associate. They want you to bring in money, and they don't want to have to worry about you anymore. So their proposition is essentially, hey, I can give you $2 million a year. Can I have an office, a secretary, $500,000, and call myself a partner? And you're also getting a brand and other things. And then you can do whatever you want and keep the extra 1.5 million I'm giving you a year. And it sounds harsh, and I'm not. Again, I have nothing against the law firm business model. It should work that way. It's just there's not a better alternative, and it's just fine. And then the law firm will say things are very competitive here. We don't just admit anybody to partnership and so forth. So let me just fix this here. Okay, this is a statement about if you approach a law firm and you say, I have millions of dollars in business, would you be interested in having me work here? And then basically, say, let us give us a thought for the next 3 seconds and go back to you after a vote of the partnership. And then 2 seconds later, congratulations, we all voted. Now, I want to be very clear. There's some firms that are just really good law firms. So your top New York law firms, your top West Coast law firms, they're not going to make anyone partner, even if they have a lot of business. Most of them. The ones that will do this are when you start getting further down, top 200 firms and stuff. This is not how Gibson Dunn or Latham or someone like that would ever in a million years think about operating. They're just not, that's not how, or Skadden or any of these great places. They're not This is not how those firms operate. But the majority of firms, I know people that have books of business of 2 million, 3 million, 5 million, and literally move every 1 or 2 years and been doing so for decades. The business you have will get you into a lot of firms and most firms. And it's a no brainer because you're basically giving people a lot of money to hire you and to keep you on as a partner when you have that. And so a good amount of business means different things different firms. But again, these top US law firms are not going to be easy to get into with business, but because they do have very high standards for the people that work there. And I have an incredible amount of respect for them. So I'm not going to say anything negative about them. But when you start getting further down, this is what firms rely on to stay alive. And it's just how it works. And so there are people when you start talking about like the top New York firms, the top firms around the country in Chicago and different parts. There's people that have multi-million dollar books of business that are still associates because it's that difficult to become a partner in those firms and they just don't care. They have giant institutional clients. They don't need to water down the brand with people that are going to leave or are problematical, but then it may take even more business for them to take you seriously. So that's just something to think about. But if you have a good amount of business, you can there's countless firms that will hire you with that business. When I say countless, if I have someone in LA or New York with a couple $1 million in business, reasonably be expected to get 50 interviews, 100 interviews with lots of firms, probably more than that, because that's just how it works. And the firms will take a percentage, but it all depends on the firm. I've worked with people before, and a couple of years ago, this woman contacted me, and I'm not going to say what part of the country she was in, but she had a consumer facing practice where she was basically doing, she was doing immigration petitions for people of a certain ethnic group. I mean, it doesn't matter that it's for an ethnic group, but it was a practice that was basically conducted in a foreign language. And she had a couple paralegals helping her and incredibly was bringing in $3 or $4 million a year of business, which is very good. And I got major, not your top firms, but AmLaw 100 down, farther down, AmLaw 200 law firms to interview this person. She had never worked in a law firm and everything was self-taught. And literally it was bringing someone in a practice group where the person didn't even, with the people working with her, these paralegals they spoke a little bit of English, but this is how much business matters. So it's just very important to understand. And this was someone that wasn't even talking think about people sitting in the lobby of these firms that are representing top US companies to have their immigration matters taken care of with kids bouncing on their lap and stuff. It's not the picture that you get, but this is what this kind of business opens up. And the firms have a need for people with business. It's just how they survive. And it doesn't matter. If you don't have a ton of business and you're continually over a period of years bringing in business and the amount of business is constantly increasing, the law firm is also going to be interested in that. So it's interesting also to read about things like private equity and kind of how that works. If you're an associate and as a first year, you bring in 100,000 and by the time you're in eighth year, you're bringing in 2 million or something, the law firm's going to logically conclude that, wow, this person is doing something right. It's going to continue going up. That's smart. And the way a private equity company works is a private equity company will look at a business and say, wow, this year they did 2 million. The next year they did 3.5, then they did 5. This is a great company to invest in. It's a no-brainer for us. And that's how law firms think too. So if a law firm sees a lot of potential for what you can do in the future, and it looks like they're going to be able to make them money, then they will make you partner. They would be insane not to. Just think about it from their standpoint. And if you really want that honor and you want to be part of what they're doing, they're going to make you partner. And again, there's a lot of people that have a knack for connecting with people and getting business. And if a law firm sees that, they're going to make you a partner. The more money you bring to the table or look like you're going to bring, the more law firms will make you partner. It's how everything works. It's not, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just money is the driving equation. And if you're doing work, but demanding more money and so forth, then you're a liability if the work goes away. It's as simple as that. You need to bring in money, and it's an army and they need money is what feeds the army. And then you're the most valuable commodity in the picture. It's the partners with business that make things work. It's just how it works. It doesn't matter. Again, the idea of the largest firm in various cities interviewing people that are in practice areas they don't even do, but they're bringing in people it shows how far this goes. again, I know people that have that, well, anyway, the business matters. I don't want to get too far into it, but you could be falling down drunk with, I know there's people like this, but with a lot of business and it's, you can move firms very easily. And then people speak to you about your issues and so forth, you just go to another firm and they'll take you. And good firms, law firms need people with business, and business is what makes things go. And if you want to be a partner, you need to find ways to bring in business and keep that business coming in, because in the long run, that's all that matters. And that's why law firms make people partner. It's why they keep them partner, and it's why they let them go as partners. So you can become a partner somewhere, and if you don't have business, they will not keep you around and you will not stick around. That's just the truth. And you may last for a certain period of time while they have giant institutional client, but eventually you won't. So that's the first thing. So if you have a lot of business, the law firm will make you partner if you look like you are. Now, the second reason that a law firm will make you partner, and this is actually a very valid one as well, is if you're connected to a powerful partner group of partners with a ton of business that the law firm is exploiting. And for everyone, you may be at a very big firm right now and say, I don't have time to make partner or bring in business and so forth. And that's fine. This is what you do. This is how you become a partner in most law firms. If you don't have a big book of business, you can easily, if you play your political game, you can become a partner doing this. And what this means is you're connected to a group of people that have a lot of business that the law firm is exploiting. Again, I use the word exploiting. It's very common in large law firms for attorneys to make partner to be closely connected to a powerful partner, group of partners with a ton of business that the law firm is exploiting. So if you see in the firm you're working with, I'm sure there are partners with giant books of business in most firms. There's people with $50 million, there's people with 10 million, with 20 million, and sometimes even more than that. And those partners will always have service partners that they're giving a lot of their work to that are close to them, and they're right next to them, and they follow them around and they interact with the clients. And so those partners can go out and do other things. And so there's always people like that. And so as an associate, if there's one piece of advice that you really need to understand, and that's very important, is you need to get close to partners to have a lot of business. That's, going to work for service partners. You should do good work for them and do your best. But if you get close to a partner with a lot of business, those are the people that can make you partner, because those people are bringing in business. And someone with $10 million in business that's getting paid 2 million or 2.5 or 3 million, again, is throwing off $7 million in profits and things that the law firm's using for other things. And that law firm wants to make that person very happy, because that person will leave and take their business with them if they don't. The people that are bringing in a lot of business that support the firm are very important for the firm. And those partners have a lot of power, and they will make people partner. I was talking to someone not too long ago that had left a very big firm as a 10th year and was considered a very high performer there, but basically said to me, I was pretty close to having someone vouch for me and go to the, committee, but I just couldn't, get there with the right person or something. So they left after 10 years. So the point is that there's people that are powerful that can make you partner in every firm. And if you do good work for them and they like you and they want you, they will go to bat. And because they have business, they will be able to throw that around and make you partner. One way to think about it is you go in, see 10 people are meeting to discuss you. One of them is carrying a nuclear bomb that if that goes off, everyone in the meeting dies. And that person says, I want to make this person partner. Obviously, the person with the nuclear bomb, or if that partner leaves, is to drastically hurt the firm and the profits. People are going to be like, okay, that's fine. We'll make this person partner. So that's just the way you need to think about things. That you need to get on the side of the people that have a lot of power. And if you do that with 2 people or 3 people, you're even better off. So just think logically here. If you want to spend your time working with people that don't have that power, you certainly should learn from them, especially when you're young, and make mistakes and get insight from them. But the people that are going to help you are the people with a lot of business. In every firm and every market, there's people with $5 million in business. Every decent sized firm, there's a lot of people like that. There's people with more than 10, and these people are throwing a lot of money in the pot, and they're supporting lots of people because they're giving other partners work to do, and they're keeping things moving, and they're paying for people's private schools and cars and vacations. And there's no way people want to upset those people, because when those partners want something, the other partners will give it to them. And asking for something like making someone a partner is very important. Just imagine you're a partner who has some business, but not a ton, which is what happens in most firms. And you have an opportunity to be a brown noser and impress someone who gives you 500 hours of work per year, which is a lot for you. That helps you make your hours. It makes you look profitable to the management committee. And they're important because you're expected to get 2,000 hours billed per year, and this makes you appear productive and so forth in the eyes of partners. And if you didn't have these hours, your income would be different. Imagine your benefactor comes to you, the person that's giving you those hours, and wants something, saying, so-and-so is doing a good job, and I would appreciate your support and voting for them to be a partner, whatever. And you think you would choose not to vote for Nancy and make them partner? So the idea is, of course you would, and because the person's your benefactor. And partners who leave firms a lot of times will often even do so when they propose certain associates to be partner. And the firm just tells them to go pound sand. So that can happen. And sometimes there are even groups of partners in the firm who are not supporting the more powerful partners because they're not getting work from the powerful partners or even jealous of them. And that can happen. It's always important that you understand the politics of what's going on behind the scenes in partnerships because it can affect you. And it's also one of the reasons firms get in trouble. And it's a big part of the drama of a lot of firms. And what you get, by the way, when you go to a very good firm, and when I say very good firms, I'm talking about your Simpson Thatchers, your places like that. And as your very good firms, what you get is you get firms that are able to manage all this political stuff very well. They have very good systems in place. They distribute. They're able to make sure that money flows to the top in an efficient way. They're able to do lots of stuff very well. And even Morrison Forrester, a lot of firms, Oryx, at least a lot of these places are very good, and they have very well developed systems of how they manage all this political stuff. And they're just very good at it. And because half the game of running a successful law firm is managing, think about how much there is to manage here and how they need to have democratic processes, and they need to have diversity, and they need to have the idea that people can rise to the top and so forth. So this is very difficult, and the best firms do a great job with it. The ones that go out of business or have problems or have their brand suffer and stuff are the ones that don't. But again, I can't say enough good things about some of the really good firms out there that do this stuff. There's very good firms out there, and it's very difficult from the standpoint of how this stuff is managed. So from a political standpoint, if you get close to a partner who has a lot of work and you work extremely hard for that person, then your odds of making partner become very good. And what happens a lot of times is that more powerful partners will end up leaving their current firms and taking loyal associate with them and demanding they made partners of the new firms as a condition of joining, because the partners also, what they want is they want the ability to have to have people loyal to them and to advance them so they can grow their book of business and concentrate on other things. If you think about it, from your standpoint, really the smartest thing you can do is to get close to partners that have a lot of business. And then you do everything you possibly can to impress that partner and get their loyalty. And support of powerful people goes a long way. You need everyone in your corner, but being supported by the most powerful people is extremely important. You can get it by working incredibly hard. You can get it by making them look good. You can get it by giving them credit for your work. You can get it by covering up their mistakes. You can get it by taking clues from the partner. So some partners may actually give you an idea that they want you to underbill certain clients, meaning to keep them happy, just do extra things on the side or something, and I'm not saying to underbill by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm just saying be very careful with your hours and efficient with them if you can with certain partners. If they say to you, this is a smaller client, please be careful with your hours. Do not, under any circumstances, do work as efficiently as you can. Saying nice things to the partner, to clients to get back to them, being a confidant for the partner, and always keeping secrets. If you destroy secrets and the person can't trust you, and that gets back to them, that will destroy your relationship. There's nothing, if you say something to someone about that person, it's probably going to get back to them. Assume that anybody you tell or you talk about something negative with a partner, it's going to get back to them. And this is another thing too, by the way, that I would caution you with any firm that you work out. And I hate to say this, being human, everyone is human. So you will make mistakes. You will do dumb things. You'll make romantic mistakes at work. Maybe you'll say the wrong thing. You'll do all sorts of things. And then outside the office, you'll also make mistakes. You may get arrested for driving 120 miles an hour on the freeway. I don't know. But the point is, anything that you say when you're at a firm, and this is important to understand, you tell someone that you think is your friend, will always, everyone will know. So you have no secrets. So you need to be very careful. If you say something negative about a coworker, that will probably get back to the coworker. Because if you upset the person you told, or that person's threatened by you, that will get back to them. So all these political rules, I think people need to learn at some point, but they can destroy you. I've seen so many people destroyed by this sort of stuff. So just remember that if you say negative things about any partner, it's going to get back to them. If you talk behind their back, it's going to get back to them. Anything that you do that's negative will get back to them. And you are entitled to stick up for yourself. So I know that one firm I worked at, there was this partner that actually ended up going to jail later, not when he was working at the firm, but after he left for he was doing some fraud with selling medical records or something. I don't know what was going on, but and I think he's in jail to this day. I mean, but the point is that I know an associate that was working with him and basically, and it was a young associate, and said, I can't work with this guy because everything I give him, he comes back and it doesn't make sense. And he went and told the head of the firm, I think at the time, and they said, no, you don't have to work with them. And he was fine. But that was not a powerful partner. But just never talk behind people's back. Your job is to make people's life easier and not more difficult. If you can answer questions without interrupting people, that's also very helpful. So you shouldn't ask a lot of questions. You should make someone's life easier. You should, when you can, if you're working directly for someone, different firms have different systems, but if you know that partner likes to pop in your office, if you're there early, and you should try to be there before the partner gets there. And you should leave after they go home. That's something people like. If you're working in an office, if you're online, you should always be available. That sort of availability. And when someone's paying you a lot of money, that's not an excuse to take half the day off. It's not an excuse your advancement is dependent on being there for people. And it's just very important to understand that's what it works, especially with partners and major firms. Other thing too is correcting people's work when necessary. I once worked for a partner. I don't know how, I think he had very big clients, which is how he became a partner. He was very good, just a really good guy, like in terms of his personality, always smiling and making jokes and very dedicated to his job. And he had a whole file cabinets of 6 file cabinets of all these form files and things that he used. But the guy literally couldn't write, and he could write, but he would always make mistakes and he would leave out words that were needed. And so I always caught this stuff for him and fixed it. And I never told him I did, but I remember, I was put in an office right next to him. And so I never told him I was fixing the stuff, but I'm sure he knew I was. And if I had gone to him every time and told him what I fixed, it would have probably been annoying. So you also need to be a personal assistant and happily do things without necessarily being asked to do. And even if you think it's beneath you, I would always do things like, I remember working for a judge. I would always get to work, the first person to work. I would get there at, I don't know, 7, he got there at 8:30 or something. And I would always go upstairs and grab his mail and paper and put it on his desk. I'd make coffee. Some people might say, oh, you're an attorney. That's not your job. But no, it is your job. It's your job to basically, the person that's teaching you and you're learning from. Maybe a clerkship's different than working in a law firm. But if people are asking to do things, you do it. If someone says, swing by my house and pick up these papers, you do it, and you do it happily. And then you maybe even do something like, hey, I also stopped and got a coffee on the way. Here's a coffee I got on the way back. These are things that you should be doing. If you're working, trying to, be very close to someone that doesn't, a different person, you want to turn in work that's exceptional, as good as it can be. And this is how it's done. And it's offensive. If it is offensive for you to do these kind of things, then you probably are going to have to make partner in a different way. And you certainly do not need to have a brown nose or a kiss ass to do that. I'm not saying that by any stretch of the imagination. But what I am saying is, if you want to be, if someone has a giant book of business, you want to be on their side and do frickin' what they ask for and be there. If they want to talk about the basketball game every Monday or football game, probably should be familiar with what happened in that football game. I mean, you need to be on that person's side. And I really don't know how to emphasize it, but It's very important. I know if you get close to a partner with a huge amount of business, that partner may retire and give you the business. You have to look out for yourself. And looking out for yourself means in this business, looking out for other people and the people that are above you. It's very important. And people will reciprocate nice behaviors when you say thank you for a raise or a bonus. If you get but the bonus is somewhat discretionary and you go to them and you say thank you and write a note, that's going to make them feel good that you appreciate it and you don't have a sense of entitlement. All these things are huge. And people that don't become partners many times let their egos get in the way. They may think they shouldn't have to work so hard. They think that they say things like, I didn't become a lawyer to have to kiss ass. They say things like, I didn't go to law school to have to make copies or be someone's personal assistant. They say things like that if someone else made a mistake on their work, it's not their problem. They say they're their own people. There's free speech. They can talk about and say negative things about people if they want and what they like. And they wouldn't be saying these things if it weren't true. They think they can undermine their law firm and do things that are hurting the group or the people in power. And they think that they don't know a higher degree of loyalty to anyone in particular, even their own firm. And this is how things work. People sue their own law firms while they're working there. They expect that these things are going to help them, and they don't. Any of these patterns can be fatal, and they go against how people have gotten ahead in the world for as long as human history has been recorded. Everyone needs to kiss ass to people. The president of the United States has to go out and kiss ass and give speeches to groups of people that he may not even, or she may not even, they have to do so with other foreign leaders. The CEOs of the largest companies are accountable to boards and they have to kiss their ass. The owners of Elon Musk has to kiss the SEC's ass. The owners of huge firms, billionaires, rock stars, famous actors, everyone needs to kiss someone's ass in order to get ahead, whether it's the public or the other leaders or whatever. That's just how it works. You're not beyond that. If you think as an associate or as a junior partner or something that you're beyond having to kiss ass to people, you have to do the same with clients. Have you ever watched a partner with a lot of business and the way they talk to clients and how they make them feel and how they remember birthdays and children's birthdays? And this is how it works in the world. It's just what it is. And the sooner you get beyond yourself and start thinking that you can be successful without doing this stuff, you're going to be much better off. So here's the way that a lot of young people think, and even people that are older in law firms. I'm astonished because I've hired people before that are attorneys that went to the top law schools, that were in the top of their class at these Ivy League law schools, and then 30 years out. And they tell me how they got a 47 on their LSAT, or how their law schools ranked this, or how they worked at this big firm. Because you did well on the LSAT, and because you did well in college, and because you went to a great law school and maybe did really well there, and because you worked in a big firm, does not give you the right to be successful. None of that is what makes people successful. What makes people successful is their relationship with clients and their relationship with the people that are helping them in their job. That's it. If you want to rely on those things, then where you went to school and so forth, that's really going to hurt you. I meet people all the time, and I hate to say this, but it's just, to me, it's just lunacy. I meet people and not all the time. When I go to things that don't involve attorneys, they'll say, I meet someone that say, oh, when I was in college out East. And of course, that means they went to Yale or Harvard, or when I was in college in Northern California, which means they went to Stanford. Like you don't ride in the coattails of things that you may have done. And typically Stanford people never do that, by the way, very rarely. When people are doing stuff like that, it's a sign of insecurity and it's relying on things that have happened in the past. And you have to really be very cognizant about providing value here and now, which means regardless, if you're more humble and harder working and you go and you do the right thing, kiss the ass of the right people and do a good job, you'll get ahead. If you rely on your past success and so forth and expect that someone's going to advance you because of that, then that's just not a good thing. So like another example is, and I don't want to keep getting into this stuff, like the more successful you are when you're younger, or the more early successes, Yale Law School is another big one, like people that go there, like that becomes something that many times holds them back because they believe that they're too good to have to go get business, or they're too good to do this. And you just have to remember that every firm, you're going to be advanced by people and you need to have a relationship with them. So the next one, and there's And I apologize that I'm spending a lot of time on these. I just believe that they're very important for your success because I'm really sharing with you decades of experience in this field and watching what makes people successful and not, and being and watching it every day. And it's just, for me, it's upsetting that people don't succeed that are capable of and they're smarter than others and just making the same mistakes over and over again. So the next one is if you're connected to a powerful client, a group of clients who give the firm a ton of business and that the law firm's exploiting, that can help you too. It's not as common being made partner due to a connection with a powerful partner, but numerous attorneys and large law firms become partners every year due to connections with powerful clients that they're able to exploit to their benefit. That's just the way it works. If you're an associate and tasked with working directly for a large, your objective really needs to be to do whatever you can to impress that large institutional client. You want the general counsel, you want whoever you're working for to say very nice things about you and say, we want this person on our team. You want to find loopholes and things for that partner, for that client that will save them lots of money. You want to help them in any possible way that you can get the best possible service from that law firm. And that means you'll do the best work possible for the client. You'll do what you can if that's what the client wants to keep bills down. And you're going to basically be the best attorney the client's ever seen. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to use your abilities to show up to people around you. But if you're working hard and doing a good job, the client will see it. And the more you understand about the client and their business, the more you're going to help the client and be the client's point person and be able to take their point of view. So you need to understand what the client does, what their business is, have insight into problems and things that could help them, and not go about this, which many attorneys do, like in a lobotomized automaton, just responding to legal problems in a way that doesn't take into account the person's situation and understand who they are. So you need to understand your clients very well, and then doing good work, being available, responding to their emails all the time, and frankly, being even more impressive to the client, the client in the long run than the partner who brought the client to begin with. Now, you as a working for the client, you're the representative of the partner. So that doesn't mean you're trying to look better than the partner, or you're gonna get respect from the client. The more you defer to the partner and the more you explain why the more you are a good follower. So people do not become generals that are not followers first. So you need to be very good at that and make sure that the client understands that you respect the partner. He's great, or she's great, whatever, and you're not overseeing them, but you need to do very good work. And you want the client to call you for answers to questions. You want the client to be calling you with new matters if they can't reach the partner. And you want the client to feel very good about you. And that does not mean that you're going to threaten the partner, because if you threaten the partner, you're going to be out of there. You want the client to feel like the partner is the one that's told you to do whatever it takes to make the person happy, and you're just following instructions and so forth. So you do not want to undermine the partner. That's not what I'm saying. You want the client to feel very good. And because if they think you're getting too close to the client by trying to steal the client, you're undermining the partner and so forth, then you'll be out on the street very quickly. The firm is not, or they'll transfer you and have you work for someone else. But that's not good. You basically, I'm doing all this for you because of the partner said to take incredible care of you. They really care about you and so forth. And so getting close to the client, it needs to be subtle. It needs to take place over a period of time. You need to basically be taking work off the partners away, let the partner get out there and do their thing. You need to make it less stressful for the partner. And the idea is by the time the law firm sees you become indispensable to the client, hopefully it's too late to penalize you, especially if it's a major client, because if the firm puts you on matters not involving the client or fires you, then the firm will face a huge danger of losing the client. So the client needs to basically want to work with you, be relying upon you, and not in a way where you're stealing the client from the partner. And I want to be very clear about that, or there's even the hint of that. The idea is that what you're doing is you're getting close to the client because that's what you're doing, because that's what the partner wants. And you're being careful to avoid any appearance of impropriety, meaning spending time with the client that the partner may not want, and so forth, giving opinions that the client may not want, that the partner may not want to give about the client, and so forth. You just need to be very careful. But you need to have a very strong connection with the client, because a client can basically say to a partner or to someone in the firm that's in charge of the relationship, we want this person on all of our matters. We'd like them if they were in a position of being a partner. And that's enough many times, especially if it's a giant client that's giving tens of millions of dollars a year in business. And that's what you want. You want to be trusted and do whatever you can to be a very good advocate for that person. And really, in many cases, take it that client like it's the most important person in the world. I I had a very interesting experience when I was in law school. I decided to write a book about personal injury lawyers, and I traveled around the country interviewing them just because I was very interested in the work. And one of the guys I interviewed he's no longer alive, but his name was Phil Corboy, and he was in Chicago. And before he would go to trial in any case, he would have his staff, and this is what he told me is that they would come in and they would dump all the papers in the case in a giant jacuzzi bathtub. I guess he lived in an apartment in the water tower in Chicago, big, probably nice apartment, and dump every paper in there and just mix them all up. And so then he would go and he would have to sort through every paper and then organize them. And that he would learn every single thing he possibly could about the case before going to trial. And that's one of the reasons I think he was considered one of the most effective trial lawyers out there, is because he would really know the details of everything very well. This is another guy too, by the way, that apparently barely graduated from law school and so forth, but he became very good and understood his clients. You need to understand your clients. And if you're really close to the client, at some point, the client's going to say to you, have they voted you to be a partner yet? And if it's not said, it's going to come up, especially if you're friendly with a client. And if the client is large enough, the client may volunteer to go to work and volunteer for you and so forth. And if you get a client like that to go to bat for you, the law firm subtly feels that if they may lose a client, they don't advance you. The clients will they do this all the time. They'll go to an associate or income partner, and they'll say, we love your work, but we're unhappy with a law firm for whatever reason. If you ever go to another firm, let us know, which is basically will be your client. So people get those sort of things all the time from clients when they're leaving firms. They also get it to make them partner. And so if it's very difficult for you to get close to a powerful partner, a good option is to get close to the clients, and not in a way, again, that threatens anyone. If you threaten people, that you will get fired. It's as simple as that, or not advanced. So don't threaten people, but you need to be seen as an honest, brilliant person, fair biller, hardworking, out to save them money. And you can do that in a lot of ways. And you're fair billing I'm not going to get into a lot of stuff, but having very good descriptions of the work you do for the partner and all that sort of stuff can help them protect the company, find things that the company may not be aware of that would help them, and just have their back 100%. Again, being a mindless, lobotomized drone, legal matters is not helpful. Imagine if you were a client and you saw all these associates, you got your bills and you saw all these associates saying reviewed interrogatories, 1.4 hours. But then you saw another description from another one that was reviewed interrogatories, research law on this for the interrogatories, and it was just a long response. You would start saying, who is this person that's putting all this detail into things? And then you would be enthusiastic. And then when that person was put on your stuff, you would like it. So that's just another way to think about all this. That getting close to the client means anything that they see that you do, that your name is on, is very detailed, is done very well, and the person is asking for you in the future. And that's about that. So the next reason a law firm will make you partner is if you work so incredibly hard that's not make you partner would demotivate other hardworking associates in the law firm that they're also exploiting. And if they don't make you partner, it's going to make it difficult for the law firm to sustain this exploitation of other associates in the law firm. So in every law firm, there are people that work very hard, and there are ones that don't. Ours, if you're an associate in a law firm, the only currency you have, if you don't have good relationships with partners, if you don't have a good relationship with clients, if you don't have any business, then hours are what you have. So all these are values that you have, and this is the fourth value. And hours matter a lot. And because without a lot of hours, the law firm doesn't make money. I had an experience. I quit a law firm once, and when I quit more than one law firm, but when I quit, they sent another partner by and they said, why are you quitting? And I said, this attorney I think is really good, and they weren't made partner. And that's disappointing because I worked for them. And then I was just very mature at the time. It was a stupid thing to say. And the partner said to me, it was talking to me, he's like, this attorney only billed 2,800 hours. And the one that made partner billed 3,200 hours, which, I mean, these kind of hours are just, ridiculous. But the point was that they were using as a measuring stick of who was deserving to be a partner and who wasn't, hours. And that's just what it is. So hours mean something. And law firms like it when there's attorneys inside of a law firm to set a good example for the attorneys by billing a credible number of hours. They want to reward the highest billers. There was another firm, the same firm I was at. There was a guy that wanted to be partner, and he worked there he transferred to the firm, I think from Cravath, and he was working there, and they didn't make partners. So he said, all right, I'll just work extremely hard. So he worked in 3 months, he worked 1,200 hours the first 3 months of the year after not making partner. And the law firm actually ended up modifying their charter, whatever their rules were, making partners only once a year, made him partner, because they were like, wow. So this guy, even after not making partner, just, buckled down and did this, like, to show his dedication to us. That's amazing. We're going to make him partner. That sort of dedication and showing your what you have is important, and it makes sense. And in a lot of large law firms with institutional clients, it may be very difficult for you to bring a business, and it can be difficult for some attorneys to become the go-to person for clients and powerful partners. And the best way to show your value to the law firm is to dedicate everything you have. If you don't have, if you're not the relationship expert and you're not the business expert, then if you can bill as many hours as humanly possible, that's going to get their attention. You need to show the law firm, the partners, that nothing is more important to them than you. Now, I hate to say this, and again, not everyone's going to do this, but it works. So how many hours is enough? It depends on the firm. But here's some general rules. If the average attorney is billing 1,800 hours and you bill 2,500 hours, that's going to make you a stand-up. If the average attorney is billing 2,000 and you bill 2,800, that's going to make you a standout. Everybody, all the partners, everybody's going to know about that you're the biggest biller, and you will have the most value of anybody there because of the money you're bringing in and because of your dedication. And people want to reward that dedication because it raises the bar and it makes everything better. Just think about it. If it makes everyone want to try harder, and everyone trying harder makes more money for the firm. If the average attorney is billing 2,200 hours, then you should be over 3,000. If the average attorney is billing 2,500, you should try to be even higher than that. Now, I'm not telling you to bill 33 or 3,500 hours a year, but if you're in a race and you're just a little bit ahead like this, that's okay. That's enough. But if you're like this, what is the law firm to think? They're obviously going to think that you're that much more dedicated than the next guy. So that's just how it works. The attorneys you're competing with want to be partner at or near 3,000, then go to 4,000. I don't recommend this for anyone, but I'm saying, what is it that gets people's attention? And that's what matters. He was a friend, and he went to my high school, and then he moved out to LA, and I think he was dyslexic. So he did horribly on the LSATs, and he went to unaccredited law school in California, meaning it's not recognized by the ABA and all that kind of stuff. But then he amazingly got 3 or 4 LLMs, and the final LLM he got was from Harvard, which is great. And then after that, he got a job at a big New York firm that's no longer around called, I think it was Buff and Lamb. And I think that firm actually merged, but he got a job there, and he got there, and no one in the firm would give him business. Like, they were just like, no, I'm not hiring someone from whatever I'm not giving work to anybody from this unaccredited law school. Are you crazy? So he sat there, and the poor guy, he was there for 8 or 9 months, and he practically had a nervous breakdown because he just felt completely worthless. Now, they didn't fire him, but they just didn't give him anything to do. So he ended up getting a job he was from a wealthy family. So he had a very wealthy family. And so he had connections and so forth. And he was able to start bringing in business and so forth. So he went to this next firm, and he was the highest biller in the firm. He got a job at a kind of a local LA firm that took a chance on him. And he was the highest biller in the firm. And he got, his first year there, he got the highest bonus, and the next year, the same thing. And so that's how he distinguished himself. And then he was also able to bring in business. But frankly, anyway, the point is that the business makes a huge difference. And that guy, not the business, but the hours. And that guy succeeded based on being the hardest worker and really learning from this experience. And then hats off to him. So that was the value that he could offer. And then eventually was bringing in business. I think he did a good job of that too. But there's no other way to get ahead. If you don't have any other way to get ahead, you need to find a way to distinguish yourself, and you need to look the best you can to people who are going to be voting for your success. And that's what you have are your hours. You don't have anything else. You need to make people as much money as you can, and you need to show them how dedicated you are. And unfortunately, that's what hours are about. So people ask me all the time. I think on the last meeting last week, we had a question where how many hours, or no, what's a question? Is 50 too late to go to law school? Can I start practicing in my 40s? Yeah, you can do all that. You can start in your 60s. But just remember that if you want to work in a big firm, some of these ways are gonna make it difficult for you. The guy from Cravath that made partner by billing 1,200 hours after 3,000 hours a previous year and 1,200 hours in 3 months. That's how he did it. And very smart guy, went to great schools and everything, but he had to offer himself in that way. So what is your value? What are you offering? Do you have these relationships? What is your value? Most people that are able to make partner with no business or these relationships do it based on their hours. If you work like crazy and you do that, and I'm not saying this is good for your health. You're saying, I want a life outside of work, or it's not for me, or something similar. That's ringing the bell. And these are all valid reasons. There's lots of valid reasons. I know people, lots of them, that have tried doing this and they work these crazy hours and so forth, and they do it, and it hurts them. From a health standpoint, it's depending on how you run your life, it can be very bad. I think the people that do this the best are able to have some sort of work-life balance, but that's not always possible either. If you have no other way to get ahead, you do this when you're young and you try to do it. And again, most people won't do that, but showing the firm how dedicated you are, and if you can keep your wits about you while doing it and showing how much the job means to you, then you're leaving people with no choice but to advance you. Because what is the law firm to say to in a firm where there's 100 associates or 50 associates, that the hardest billing associate and the firm didn't make partner? How is a law firm to justify everyone working so hard if they don't advance you? How does that work? It's just very difficult for them to justify. Human nature is to advance those that seem the most dedicated and to push away those that aren't dedicated. I've been following that part in my business and life for years. The people that are the most dedicated are advanced. The people that are the least dedicated aren't. It works that way everywhere. But the problem is that the most dedicated people often go off the rails because they're working so hard. Sometimes they don't, and most of the time they don't. And it doesn't always end with success. And it's not easy to build 2,000 hours a year. You not only, and one of the reasons that hours are such a big deal is because not only do you need to be able to physically and mentally handle billing all those hours, which is a big deal, that's very difficult, but you need to get the work. And a lot of big firms, they only give work to the people that they know are going to do the best job. And the partners have their choice of talent of associates and other people to give their work to. The clients also will request work from you and give you work if you're doing a good job. So in order to bill a lot of hours, it's not just the fact that you're sitting down and billing all these hours. It's the fact that someone's giving you this work to do, or you're able to track it down and you're getting repeat business. And that's the big deal. It's not just when people say their hours are low. If the partner's saying their hours are low, what the partner's saying is the work that I did for my existing clients or the other partners in this firm was not good enough for them to continually give me lots of work. If somebody has a book of business that's $30 million, what that's saying is my work is so freaking awesome that my clients are giving me repeat work and it's just coming in like the droves. I'm doing something right. I'm putting the right people, giving my work to the right people, the right associates, the right partners in the firm. I'm rewarding people the correct way for doing work. They want to work hard for me. That's what that's saying. It's not saying that anything else but that. So in order to bring in that much work, if you're billing 3,500 hours a year in a firm, which I frankly wouldn't suggest doing, but you could, and it would be necessary in some firms. What that is saying is that's saying that you're doing very good work and people are giving you a lot of repeat work. And because law firms are not stupid, partners are not stupid. If you're doing bad work, they're going to hire your replacement. If you're doing good work, they're going to keep you on. So again, I've written about this quite often, but one of the most important skills as an attorney is the ability to create work and to find work to be done. So that means someone gives you a legal problem and you go solve it and you say, this should also be done. We should also look at these 5 issues. I've looked at these. Would you like me to research these? This motion was filed. We should also do these motions. We did this incorporation thing for you, but we should also do this. This is what good attorneys do. They don't just wander around, again, like lobotomized automatons, doing what they're given and then returning it. You need to take the work you're given and find other things to do. This is what this is what the best attorneys do. And I've told this story before too, but I was at a graduation party for years ago for an attorney that worked that for the son of an attorney that I went to high school with. And his dad was a traffic personal injury attorney, a traffic type attorney. He went around to every kid in the freaking party and asked them if they had tickets and could he call their parents? And if they don't pay this ticket, they could lose their license. I couldn't believe it. He did it with me. So this is what good attorneys do is they find work to be done. Now, that's not something that I recommend, but this guy was living in a huge lake house in Michigan that he just built and very successful because of his ability to find work to be done. You need to find, and that's doing it at his son's graduation party is what it was. But that's how people do it. You need to find people that are giving you work. So attorneys that are doing 3,000 hours a year are also being able to find work to be done. They have the ability to sell the fact that more work needs to be done to clients, partners, and others, that they should do it. And it's a skill and it's something that's very valuable and creates wealth is only created by finding work to be done. Plenty of people are happy to sit or whatever in front of a television playing video games. That's not creating wealth. What creates wealth is when you get out there and you say, I've got to get people lemonade. So that lemonade stand, or your lawn needs to be mowed, or your windows need to be washed, or you need this type of legal service, or you need to combine your company with this other company. And we need to eliminate all these positions and then people make millions of dollars, or you need to use this new type of currency. These are the things that create wealth, is finding work to be done. And that's what you need to do in a law firm. And if you're not creating wealth and you're playing video games or you're sitting around saying, I'm here, give me some work, you're going to get crushed. I saw an attorney working for a great firm. I don't remember what it was. It might've been, I don't know, it was a good firm. I think it might've been Goodman Proctor or something. I don't remember what the firm was, but there was an associate, the firm he had to be at work every day at a certain time, once a week to get an email from the partner that would send out assignments, and the first people to take the assignments would get them. He refused to be at work at 8 and therefore didn't get enough work. And the point is that aren't there in time to take assignments and don't get the work, then you're going to be in trouble. And that's what happened to this attorney. So the advantage of billing a lot of hours and so forth is that the firm will know who is and who's not billing incredible numbers. And this guy, by the way, lost his job because of that. And they'll know that you're actually good at getting work. You're getting repeat business, that you're probably likely to get repeat business when you do work for clients. If you're impressing the partners you're working for, you're probably going to impress clients too. And you're also acting as a role model. And so not to make you partner after years of this, again, is going to send shockwaves through the ranks of other associates, and you motivate the entire firm and show that working these sorts of hours may not be worth it. And this is the sort of risk that firms are just not interested in taking if they can help it. They need to reward extremely hard work. You would want to do the same too. You would do the exact same thing. And if you don't, then the entire system crumbles. So when law firms don't reward the hardest workers, there's no incentive for other attorneys there to work harder. And from an economics perspective, one person can raise all boats. And that's how it works. If they show their sacrifice and they work hard, they're going to be rewarded, and it's going to make everyone work harder and keep everyone motivated. In large law firms, that's really, this is the most important thing you have, is doing the hard work and doing it for an extended period of time. And most people just say, no, the hours aren't for me. I want to do something else, and I'm not going to do this for a long period of time. And that's perfectly fine. But if you do that hard work when you start in a firm, it's going to have impact that's going to reverberate throughout your career, because you will probably make partner or you will succeed, and people that you're doing that hard work for will look out for you. They will tell in-house companies about you. They will do anything they possibly can. I have a relative. He was at, I think, Simpson Thacher and in Hong Kong, I think, and which is a great firm. But the firm, there was financial crisis or something happened, and the firm didn't have all the work that they'd formerly had. No, I think it was Sherman Sterling. He was at Sherman Sterling. But anyway, the point is that the firm didn't have the work and they had to let him go. Well, so he was out of work for a couple months and maybe a month or two, and very crushed because he'd been there for working very hard, one of the hardest builders in the firm, but they just didn't have the capital markets were coming. I don't know what the reason was. It wasn't anything that he caused, and it really wasn't anything the firm caused, but they certainly didn't have the work. So then one day he got a call and they said, I have this client in Bermuda, I think it was, that owns this company. Would you like to go work for there? And he got a job paying, which I think over $1 million a year, tax free or partially tax free. So the point is that when you work really hard for people, they remember it and they've got your back in the future and they will look out for you. And this guy's wildest dreams could never have happened because of that. And it's very common for the large law firms to pass people a partnership several times. I was at a big New York firm, and it was actually pretty funny. One day, this email went out, and it was like I don't know, it was on a Friday afternoon or something. And this is actually very funny. And so the email went out, and the email was basically listed all these people that were for partner, and then in different names it said no, and then it said something like will not leave have passed over this year, so pass over this year and next year, have a look at. So it was funny, like they had these notes on it, and so everyone got this email sitting there just like, and it was supposed to go out to all partners, so that was what the person meant to type, but instead it went out to all personnel. So we're all sitting there. I get this email, I read it. I'm like, what the hell? This is incredible. And then the firm like was so freaked out. They turned off all the power on all the floors where the computers were on because they didn't want us to see it or read it. And even though everyone had already read it, and sent us home. And then they went into everyone's computers and deleted it, which is very funny. I'll just never forget that. But the point is that firms will pass people over for partner many times, and they do it to test you. They do to see if you have the commitment, and they do it because they want to see if you'll continue working hard in the face of rejection, discouragement, or even work harder. So a lot of times people, like the partner that I told you about, to build 1,200 hours in 3 months, basically I said, part of this plan, I'll show you how even more committed. And so that's just how it works. The other thing that can you make partner is if the firm is being shaken to the core by a series of departures, and it needs to set an example that the people around it that can keep exploiting. In some situations, all sorts of things can happen. People can break off, groups of attorneys can break off. They could be losing partners and associates. Every law firm, not everyone, again, but a lot of them certainly go through ups and downs where people feel like they're on a sinking and rudderless ship. And when this happens, there all sorts of things could be happening. They could be losing major clients. There could be scandals. There could be people going to jail. Who knows? But there's all sorts of things. And when this stuff happens, law firms will often attempt to prop up the morale and keep you from leaving too by making people partner. They'll just be like, we got to do something to prop up morale, so they'll start making people partner. And again, just remember the rule that law firms will only make partner when they have to. And when law firms are made partners under these conditions, they're often not excited. They may have been considering leaving anyway, and have been taking the business to other firms, but sometimes they'll turn down partnership, which is even funny. But these are ways to hold on to people. Sometimes the attorneys getting made partner will look at it with skepticism, which is even funnier. Sometimes there's buy-in. A lot of firms there's buy-in. To become a partner, you may have to take out a loan. In some cases, it's a lot of money. It can be hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so the law firm partners will be like, wait a minute, they're using my money to try to keep the firm going, which is funny. But most law firms that experience problems, just keep in mind, a law firm is essentially billing for something for minting profit, the more hours it builds. And so it's not like it has to build something like a car and then sell the car. They can always make money. But the point is that if you become a partner in a major firm when they're having a crisis, it can also be a big gift, and it can be embraced if possible. And you may never get an opportunity like this again. So just because you're making partner in the middle of something bad doesn't really mean anything. You should just take it as a good thing. The next thing is that a partner title can often be meaningless. Again, in a lot of law firms, the title partner is basically meaningless, and it's just something in name only. But it is an honor. It's not something that everyone gets, and it could often be as an income or non-equity partner. A lot of major law firms will do that. Some law firms advance attorneys to this as a matter of course after a number of years, and others will treat it more seriously. But the thing is that it is often a title that is somewhat meaningless, but it can obviously gives you more income, and it comes with some pressures often that are very significant that mean you may only get a few years to get business using these titles. And if you don't succeed, you may lose your job. So I've known people that were made partner in major law firms for working incredible hours and doing very good work. And then they made partner, and then They were basically told they had 2 years to bring in business. They would at least show progress. And when they didn't, they were out. A lot of income partners often say they wish they'd been able to stay associates. A lot of firms let income partners stay partners for a long period of time, provided there's enough work. So it's not necessarily a bad title. But in other firms that you may actually end up making less in some cases than senior associates. And the title can be somewhat meaningless. When I first started this business, I was working with a partner at a law firm that used to be a huge firm, a very well-respected firm. I think it was called Graham and James or something. And at the time, associate salaries were maybe 120,000 a year or something. And this guy was a partner, and he was like a service partner. And I think he was making like, $80,000 a year. I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, you're paying a guy that's a 20-year partner less than and when you're calling him a partner, you're paying him less than a first-year associate. Like, I was astonished. And since that time, I've seen that play out with people and other firms too. And law firms can certainly do that. It's not, if you don't have any other options, they can call you a partner, but not really do anything. And that firm, of course, is no longer in business, not surprisingly. But the point is that can happen. The other reason you can make partner is and this is actually very important, but you have some sort of skill or expertise or other thing and connections that the law firm needs, and they just can't find it elsewhere. You can be made a partner in some cases if you have a very rare skill, and that skill you could be very brilliant. There are people out there that are smart, it's unbelievable. Some people are incredible trial lawyers with very persuasive skills. Some people have incredible writing abilities they're able to literally win most motions. There's people that may be trained in very obscure areas of the law, patent law, transactional law, or technical niche that there's very few people in the world that do it. There's also having gone to clerked on the Supreme Court or being a politician or something are huge things. And this is valuable to the firms. Just using your name's enough. And the law firm will often make people partner just because of skills that they possess their clients will need from time to time. And they want to, legitimize your contribution. Connections are huge. Government you can literally, if you are a certain government position, the law firm will make you a partner and give you work because of that. If you are from an important family, I was working with a firm not too long ago where one of the top partners was accused of, I don't know, beating people up and all this stuff, and women kept a partner, and because connected to another important partner. And other law firms, the important family may have connections. You could be very well known and have done something very positive in the past, or who knows? There are all sorts of possibilities. But if you have something very special, which often happens, the law firm can ask you. These are some frequently asked questions, which I will get into. I would like real briefly let's see what time we have here, to probably take a quick break, and we'll come back. And then after the break, I will answer questions that people have. And then also I can go through some of these kind of FAQs as well. Just give me like 2 minutes. All right. So we're going to do FAQs now. And let's get started. Let's see. First question is, which is a better choice coming out of law school, applying to lateral as a junior associate from New York City AmLaw 20 law firm to an AmLaw 100 law firm later, or starting at an AmLaw 200 law firm to begin with? Okay, the first thing is it's better to start when you're young, especially for a young attorney. You're always better off starting at the best firm you can. The reason for this is just because most attorneys, it's easier to get if you're, depending on your practice area and location and so forth in New York City, it's much easier to get into a AmLaw 20 law firm or a really good law firm like that right out of law school many times than it is to lateral into them. Now, it depends on the practice area and other issues, but you're much better off starting at the best law firm you can. And that's just the kind of the rule that most people follow, is most people will start at the best law firm they possibly. So that's just something to think about when you're joining firms. Okay, let's see here. What age do most lawyers make partner? It depends on the firm. So different law firms have different ages, not ages, but different levels of experience. So it's typically, it's an experience issue. But typically smaller law firms, it could be anywhere from 5 to 8 years. And the smaller, and then the larger law firms have a lot more bargaining power. So larger law firms typically string you along is pretty much as long as they want. So it could be anywhere from 8 to 10 years, or it could even be longer. For non-equity positions, there are firms that will do it after 4 years. Some firms will do it after 4 years or 5 years if you're doing a good job, but it really depends on the firm. Okay. So this is a funny question, but I'll answer it. Let me see. I'm having a hard time with my getting my mouse. Give me a second. Sorry. The next question is, how do you become a named partner? So the way you become a named partner is you typically are, to become a named partner, you have to either they're one of the founders of the firm, or you have a lot of business or a lot of heft to give to the firm. So they make you a named partner. So there's something very significant about your background that the law firm that gives the law firm a reason to make you a named partner. So that would mean something along the lines of, if you are very well known and your name, like if you're a politician or something, can bring a lot of heft to the firm and give them a lot more visibility and credibility. If if you have a huge amount of business that the law firm needs, they may make you a named partner. Or obviously, if you're one of the founders or one of the few people that started the firm, then they also have an incentive to make you a named partner because of that way as well. Okay. What types of attorneys will never become partner? Let's see here. That's a good question. Will never become partners for one reason or another, and what might those reasons be? The biggest, firms will make you partner for all sorts of reasons, but the reasons they won't would be low hours. They would be not doing good work, or it would be personality problems. It could be lack of commitment, meaning you don't seem committed. Then those are some of the main reasons I think that law firms don't do that. And they could also be very difficult to work with is one, but not always. Things along those lines are typically the most common. There's certainly a lot of other reasons that law firms won't make you partner, but are never going to become partner. But those are the big ones. The people that are most likely not to ever make partner are usually the people that just don't have a lot of commitment. They're not committed. They're not available. They prioritize other things over their job. And so the law firm really has no incentive to make someone like that a partner. Okay. So the next question is, what are the benefits of being partner? Let me just see here. A second. And what are the drawbacks compared to being, of course, a senior associate? So the benefits of being a partner, the big benefits are the name, gets the title. The title gets respect in the market. The title in the market and in the firm, meaning that title does give you a lot of respect. And in the market, it makes it easier to bring you clients, much easier. If you say you're a partner, that you get a percentage of profits. If you are a capital partner, you have a role in a lot of important decisions, matter and governance. You have more stability. You have a lot more stability. They can't just fire you. They have to vote you out. And it's easier to just fire an employee than to not vote them out. So easier to stay employed. And then depending on the firm, you may actually to some extent have, lifetime employment. You can get paid for things that are not related to practicing law. If that's your thing, which would be practicing law, which are like firm governance, marketing, training, things along those lines. So those are some of the things I think that are most important and to keep in mind about it. Those are the main benefits. I think the title is one thing, the percentage of profits if you're a capital partner is another, having a role in the firm governance and those sort of decisions is another, and then getting more stability is another, and then just getting the ability to get paid for other things. The question is, how much do partners at a firm make on average? It really depends on the firm and the location. So there's really no answer to that question. You can typically the salary surveys online. I know that American Lawyer does one each year, law.com, and you can find that information online, but it's really all over the board. What I would typically say, the way to think about partner compensation. So there's a lot of ways to think about partner compensation, like how much am I going to make? Typically, when you look at the partners with business and you look at if you were to make an average of everything that happens, an average of everything that happens is that partners make 1/3 of the revenue they contribute to the firm. So, contribute to the firm. That's the typical role of the firm. And hopefully clients they bring in, but not always. If a partner generates $3 million per year across all things considered, they're going to probably make around $1 million, especially if it's their own clients. And if on clients and less if not. So firms will have formulas in terms of how they will distribute revenue to partners and how they'll pay them. But the most common is about, 1/3 of the revenue that you bring in. Sometimes they'll do things like, and another common thing might be 50% of the stuff you build yourself on your own clients. This is one on clients, 20% of things you give to other people, others, your clients that, I don't know, then a percentage, 25% or 20% of, this is just a hypothetical, of the work, something like that. That maybe a base of 200,000. Yeah. So there's all sorts of different formulas that are used. This is just an example of one of them, but different law firms have different formulas. So if you're doing work mainly for other people's clients, maybe you get, I don't know, 15% or 20%. If you're giving work, but you make more typically when you do work on your own clients. So this is one reason when you see this statistic. So there's always, and I hope everyone's following because I know this is a little complex, but if you are, if a partner gives work to other people, they make less. When you become a senior associate, your billing rate starts rising to the level of partners. And so what that means essentially is when your billing rate gets high to the level of partners, a partner wants to do their own work themselves, and a client would prefer to give work to the partner as opposed to a senior associate. So it becomes much harder for people that are more senior many times to get work. So that's just a way to think about it, if that makes sense. Okay. Do all partners have equal stakes in their firms? This next question. Let me just answer this. Do all partners have equal stakes in their firm's profits and losses? No, they don't. People will get larger stakes in the firm profits depending on the received level of contribution. So the contribution can be based on a lot of things. So sometimes their financial contribution is one thing, and then another type of contribution might be, I don't know, leadership roles, all the leadership activities in the firm, which could be public I don't know, just recognition. There's just all sorts of formulas that are done. So every firm has their own formulas. And that secret formula, that it's not a secret formula, but the formula that a firm uses is really what their strength is. And so the firms that have the most highly developed formulas, they try all these different things that they try to make work. And the more and those formulas, depending on how they're applied, will make certain attorneys happy and will make other people unhappy. So as a firm matures, they get better formulas in place. And so older firms have, when you start talking about your very established firms, they have very kind of rigid formulas in place that change, but not much. And in younger firms that kind of have looser goosey formulas. And so as time goes by, formulas change. So a lot of times you're going to have a different experience as an attorney if you're working at a major firm that's very established versus going to like a smaller or younger firm, because a smaller or younger firm is going to make all sorts of mistakes. It's going to overpay people. It's going to underpay people. Whereas a formula that develops over time is going to make the firm much better. Another thing to remember too, that's as firms get older, a lot of them will get a lot of bureaucrats in power. And then those bureaucrats will put formulas in place that benefit them, but not necessarily people with business. And then those people will leave. And then the firm will adjust the formula again. But some of the older firms are more difficult in terms of that. And then I'm just trying to think if there's one other way, anything else I can say to this. So that the way that the firm distributes its profits are very important to a lot of people. And it's really the reason that people leave firms. It's how things work at different firms. And so if a firm is losing money or gaining money, it's just things will typically change. And the way things used to work, I don't know how important this is, but I might as well bring it up, is in the 1970s to the early 1980s, what happened in law firms is typically the profits of the firm were distributed at what's called a lockstep. So meaning first year partners made this much, second year this much, or different tiers more, third year more, and so forth. And that's kind of what happened. And then what happened is consultants came in. The consulting industry kind of arose at the same time. And the consulting industry came in and they started hiring consultants from companies like Arthur Andersen, or all these other compensation experts, and all these sort of people came in. And when all these people came in, what these people said was they said things like, why are you giving all this money to people that are old and not working? Why giving the most money to people that are not old, not working with no clients. And then they basically said, you need to incentivize business generation, hours, all that sort of stuff. And that was like a shock to the system, to firms all over the country. Everything started changing. And then consultants were paid hundreds of thousands of dollars in some cases to come in, develop all these different types of systems and so forth. And that's a history of how all this stuff worked. And that's pretty much what happened with law firms over time. And so it's important to understand that today everything is based on these formulas that consultants and things use. And so different firms have different formulas that they use, but the basic incentive of the formulas is to incentivize business, hours, cooperation, maybe longevity to some extent, bureaucratic contributions, and other things. And then those formulas are applied in different ways at different firms. That's just something to understand. So it's important just from a business standpoint to understand what's going on in the background. And then sometimes you have firms that are old that may be run by a couple individuals that are applying different formulas in a random way based on who they like and all sorts of things. And that kind of prevents firms from growing. So the best firms typically will have kind of democratic processes in place that help all that stuff. Okay. Is it worth becoming a law firm partner if you don't have strong academic grades or experience in public relations, PR and marketing, as well as skills that can bring more Cage 3 firm babies? Yes. The partner does. So one of the biggest, there was a guy, he's no longer alive, but his name was Bill Urquhart, and he was the largest, he had a huge book of business, and he was one of the founders of Quinn Emanuel. And he used to say, there was a guy at another firm, but the biggest nerd in LA also has the most business. Now, if he's saying the guy's a big nerd, and you can imagine Urquhart. So if he's saying that, then you can imagine what you don't need to have the biggest social skills or all this PR and marketing stuff. The thing that sells is the quality of your work, and the results that clients, others get from working with you. What are others saying? That's something to remember about all this. The people that are the best are typically. Okay, this is a good question. The next one. And thank you for all these questions, by the way. I do appreciate them, and I will answer as many questions as everyone has today. So as long as you guys have them all day. So what are some of the more common issues that you see with juniors who have not received adequate training due to working from home? Are there any tips you can offer to help mitigate the lack of good training? Do you think that associates who started in 19, 20, and 21 classes will be tag branded as those classes that haven't developed properly due to working from home? If so, how might those classes might it affect those classes to my partner, and what can be done to mitigate this? Okay, so the big thing is there's this whole movement where the people that are working at home want to continue working at home. And I've seen this in my company, just all these people working at home that during the pandemic that may have come into offices, you find out that they're not working, and it's disturbing. And they're not working as hard. So not only not developing their skills, but they're not working. And then there's software you can put on, make people put on their computers, and then you can see that they're working and so forth. But the point is that I don't know the training that you get inside of a law firm is important. I think that the face-to-face networking and information you get doing that and calls and other things is very important. So I do believe that you need to do what you can to interact with people in your firm. I think if firms give you the option of working at home or in the office, I think it's better to be seen in the office as much as that sucks compared to how you may have learned to work, because I think that partners like having people around that they can walk up to and talk to and give work to, and they like giving face-to-face feedback. You learn a lot just from the interaction that you have. So I honestly think people are welcome to work at home, and may do that, but it is very difficult and will make it difficult for you to advance if you continue doing that. Now, the law firms may have no choice but to advance you. Most people that have books of business, they don't get the books of business over the phone. They get them by arranging dinners and meeting with people and doing all that sort of things. That's also very important. And you need to do what you can to interact with everyone. The other thing I would say is that the longer if you feel like there's training issues, you need to become very disciplined and to ask for feedback from senior associates, ask for feedback from other attorneys, and really try your best to look dedicated. I know that in our company, there's people that are there, they take feedback and they do a very good job at it. And then they're working hard and so forth. And those are the kind of people that any rational firm would want around. Working lots of hours and doing everything and their learning will help you. But the thing is, even though You may have started work during a pandemic. You're still, the law firm's still, the business model's still there. And they still need to, they're expected to, sorry, I'm just looking at this question. Next question. They're expected to work. They still need to advance people and so forth. The partnership model and the business model is not going away. It may be watered down a little bit, but it's not going away. So that's something just to remember. I would do whatever I can to be visible as you possibly can be. And one thing I spoke about on our meeting last week that I just wanted to bring up that deals with this question is, and they always say that if you're in a branch office, it's very difficult to make partner. And the reason it's difficult to make partner in branch offices is because you're not around, like people don't get a chance to see you that are making all the decisions about who's going to make partner, and you're not forming those sorts of relationships and so forth. And that can be very harmful. You want to make sure that you do what you can to be in the office and to get in front of people, even though you may not want to do that. That's important to your advancement. The next question is, I'm a 2L headed to about 20 major market this summer. A few days ago, my firm reached out and offered me to spend a few weeks of the summer in-house. I'm not particularly interested in this company. I would have to relocate to a very random state, but I figure it could be nice change of scenery and bolster my resume. On the other hand, I'm wondering if it would be missing out on network opportunities to try to establish myself with my desired practice group. The second will provide an opportunity to engage in that practice here as well. I'm very torn. I've heard secondments are what associates are asked to do when they're expendable, or what senior associates are asked to do when the class is too big. Do you have any thoughts on this? Okay, so law firms will ask you to go and to work with a client. Many times they may be doing a favor to their client. They're not doing that because you're a 2L. They're probably doing that to be nice to the clients and give clients some work and to have them get to know their merchant people. They're certainly not doing that because they have any negative judgments about you. So I think whatever a law firm asks you to do, it's a tool you want to do with as much enthusiasm as you possibly can. So you need to be all over it, very happy, enthusiastic, do the absolute best you can. And I don't think a secondment is something that happens when when a law firm is trying to help out a client, or it may not have room for you at the top sometimes, but there's nothing, or it doesn't have the work in-house. So there's nothing, or it doesn't have the work for you to do there. So I think it's actually a good thing that the law firm would want you to be a representative of them. And I think I haven't heard of people doing that for that much time, because you could certainly make mistakes and that would make the firm look bad. But I think it's a good thing. I wouldn't worry about it. And I think I would do the best I could. Your objective, by the way, anytime you go into a summer associate job, is to get an offer. So I don't think you don't question things. You don't question motives. You don't worry about what other people are thinking, but you just go into the job and do the absolute best you can. And that would be my piece. That would be my advice to you, is don't worry about why the law firm's having you do it. Just do it. Do the best you can. And I think if you do that, you're going to be much better off. Okay. But yeah, get the offer. And then depending on how you feel about the firm, what you learn about there over the summer, then certainly you can look at other offers. If you were able to get into about 20 firm as a 2 and you get an offer from there over the summer, you'll be able to get you might be able to get into a Vault 5 firm after this, when you do on-campus interviewing or as third years. Okay, let's see here. I recently received a firm-wide email, Kirkland, stating that as of March 29th, attorneys and staff are expected to be present in the office on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. The office will be open Monday and Friday, but showing up is optional. In-person activities such as practice group meeting, training, social engagement events will occur between Tuesday and Thursday. What are your thoughts on it? How might it affect your ability to make work? Okay, well, Kirkland is a great firm. And and congratulations on being at Kirkland. It's one of the top firms in the country. I really have nothing negative to say about them. And it's a firm that in my opinion, is very well run for the most part. I have any reason to say anything negative about them. So I wouldn't even say for the most part, it's a very well run firm. It has lots of very big clients, and they're reacting to a sense that not having you in the office is probably not a good thing. And it's probably not a good thing for the service that their clients are receiving. Part of what a law firm gets, and a client gets by going to Kirkland, is they get very good service, and they get a certain quality of culture and a way of thinking about problems. And frankly, there is a long-standing kind of camaraderie among the people there that's very positive, and it's a great firm. So the only thing I can say to you is what they're doing is a very positive thing, in my opinion. I think the fact that they're allowing people not to work on those days is fine, but you do need to be part of that firm on those days. And even if you don't want to be, I would say if it was me and I was trying to get ahead at Kirkland, I would probably try to be in the office on Monday and Friday as well. That's just what it's about. What people do, and I'll just tell you just some examples. And this is Kirkland's a business, and they're a very good business, an exceptional business, and they do good work with clients. They do good, they help people's careers. There's just nothing. They're a good place. But what people will do is people will give you independence. So people may say to you, you don't have to come into the office. That's up to you, but it'd be nice if you did. Well, that means you need to come into the office. People will say to you, we don't care if you take Mondays off. That's up to you, but you shouldn't, right? They don't want you to. Law firms will say to you, some law firms, we have no vacation policy. You can vacation as much as you want. No, they don't really want you to vacation as much as you want. They're saying that because they want you to. They're not. You're expected to do these things. If people say you don't need to do this, you don't need to do that, you not doing that is sending them a message. If just put it this way: say you're in a romantic relationship with someone, and you've gone out on a bunch of dates with them. They've met your parents, and that person asks you, do you mind if I also see other people? You can say yes, and you'll probably but would you mean that if you've invited them to meet your parents? You have to be able to read the signals. So this law firm is saying, we want you in the office, man. That's what they're saying. They're saying, we're going to be nice and we don't want to revolt. We don't want people quitting because we have a lot of work and so forth. So you're welcome to be there Monday to Friday, but you should, if it was me, I would be there Monday to Friday. I might take Friday afternoons off during the summers or something, but I would be there Monday and Friday. You have to use your own judgment. But if you're lucky enough to be at a law firm like that, you should do what you can to be there when the law firm wants you there. Again, if you're at Kirkland, I don't care who you are. I mean, that firm hires Supreme Court clerks and hires and gets them to work there. That's a great firm. You should do whatever you possibly can to do well there. I remember one of my best friends said to me right before I went to college, he said something like, if I was you, because he didn't get into good colleges, and he was like, if I got into a college like you got into, I would do everything I could to just completely kick ass and so forth. And because not many people get the type of opportunity. And so what did I do? I worked my ass off, and I was one of the very top. I was one of, I don't know, 3 people by the school nominated for Rhodes Scholarship, which back then was based on grades. The point is that if you get an opportunity to work at Kirkland or something, like you should, and that's a great firm, you should give it everything you got. And that should be the most important thing in the world to you. Now, it doesn't have to be, but if someone is telling you they want something from you, then I would do it. That would be what I would do. But because you're lucky to have an opportunity to work there. Not many people get that type of opportunity. And lots of people get opportunities like that and take them for granted. But doing well there could set you up for the rest of your life. Okay, why do law firms sometimes ghost candidates, including experienced counsel? Sometimes you go through interviews with 4 or 5 partners. All the interviews go great, but they're very enthusiastic, and they schedule a final interview with the managing partner, but then there's silence, no communication from the firm, despite reminders. Is there a logical explanation? Yeah, I wrote an article once about this, and I got into a lot of trouble because I talked about I don't know, I said that basically criticized some recruiting departments that they were dropping the ball and it was a mistake. But the reason I think that this happens a lot is the law firm, first of all, they're busy. So the law firm's busy and working on more important things. They also more important things. And obviously to you, it's the most important thing in the world, but to them, it's not. To you, most important thing in the world, but to them, it's not. And the other thing is that many times they just don't know. They're waiting for the managing partner for him to respond. They may be, a lot of times there's budgeting issues, meaning they don't know if they have the money to bring you on. There may be political issues. There's money, politics, all these things going on. And those are often more pronounced, especially when you're more senior. So the reason when you're more senior, it's even more pronounced is because you're going to be billing out at a high billing rate. There may be associates trying to make partner that want that work. So there's all sorts of things involved that the law firm's trying to wrap its head around, and they may need a meeting of a bunch of people to decide that. So that's really what's going on there. Like, you need to just not worry about it. If you had enough value to them or perceived value and it was urgent enough, then they would make you partner. Now, you contacting them and so forth about all this is actually probably hurting you, because they're basically going to be thinking that this person is desperate for a job. maybe we can do better. This person really wants to work here. Maybe we should find someone else. So I wouldn't worry about it. This happens all the time. It's probably not much to do with you personally. It's to do with their own internal politics. Because obviously, if they have the work to give you and they're going to make money, and if they are losing money without it, they are going to bring you in immediately. And that's really the thing. If they are concerned that you may cost them more money, it's really as simple as that. I wouldn't, worry too much about it. I think that just the main thing to understand. Okay. 2 more questions. Let's see here. You guys passed. So let me go to here. Okay. If you have a solo practice in a niche transactional area, at what level of revenue do you become attractive to a law firm to hire you as a partner? Assuming you have developed a significant book of revenue, what are the advantages of becoming a partner and sharing the revenue of the firm? So the only benefits of the solo is you can refer business to other practice areas. You can attract larger matters if it's a firm, larger matters, meaning larger matters and clients. Then you get the support and meaning better associates, better secretarial staff, maybe nicer offices, offices. Then you also get camaraderie, other attorneys. And those are some of the benefits. Now, some people would want to always be with a group of other attorneys, and that's important to them. Others wouldn't. And whatever you think is in your best interest is really what you should be doing. But I've met people before that with multi-million-dollar books of business that are happy to accept a much less money. Many times the law firm will do a lot of the management for you. So they'll do HR, they'll do all the things that you don't want to do. And that will help you and make your life easier. Some people want that, other people don't. So it's just up to you. But if you're in that position and asking those questions, there may be no benefit. Okay, what are the benefits of working in a smaller specialty group, a small M&M team of 2 to 5 partners, associates versus being in a big group, a large corporate group, with each being about 200, which is better for making partner? The better group for making partner is typically the one that has there's going to be the most upward mobility opportunity. Now, if you're working with a group of 2 to 5 partners with and you're the only associate, that's a sign that the firm probably doesn't have a ton of business and a lot of leverage. And so all the business would be done with the partners, not a great sign. You're probably better off in a practice area where there's a lot of chance for upward mobility. If there's 10 associates and 1 partner, that means there's a lot of work being done and probably room to advance you if there's 5 partners and 1 associate. So the situation you want to be in is typically where the firm has a lot of leverage and more business. And so the more business the firm has most times, the more work you can get. All right. Thank you, everybody, for being in this webinar today. I appreciate all the questions. I'm sorry that was a little long, but I will see everyone next week with any questions you have. Thank you.